everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with a GR2 race at Suzuka, taken from today's race. This was my first race this morning. Unfortunately we had issues with the recording. We've had to do it manually again through the replay, so all the footage is taken from the replay footage, but obviously I drive with the onboard view anyway, so that's how I've done the main view. For this video today we're just going to keep it on these views throughout the whole race. It won't really matter in terms of being able to see the fuel mixture I was running, because I was running one throughout the whole race, just doing short shifting with the NSX. It seems to be fairly competitive doing it that way. Also, brake balance, we had it on -2, so for 2 towards the front, it tends to help this car out because it's got such good turning anyway. It just creates a bit more stability, so that's how I ran the race. You can see there, starting from P3, we got away straight away and tried to get as close as we can to the cars in front. You're going to see me short shifting straight away, you can see. I'm trying to just keep the revs down and just try and save fuel that way. I think the guy in front was doing it a slightly more aggressive way of doing it with the fuel mixture also, as well as the possibly short shifting, as you can see, because when we get through to the bits, I'll talk about that as obviously the on-screen information. I don't think it's going to show up. It might do. We'll have a look when we get through to the bits. I'm not sure how it works when you're using the replay footage, but we finally fixed the issue we had with the gaps in the recordings. It was to do with the PS4. What it is if anyone else is having the issues, if you're recording footage and then every now and then it skips a second or so, and it makes it so awkward to line up footage like I do it, where I obviously match it all up with the different camera angles or alternative camera angles, which we do sometimes where we split and move it around and stuff. If you want to fix it, what I found doing is just if you rebuild your database in your hard drive by doing obviously the hard restart and rebuild that, and it tends to fix it. So we've got that sorted, thankfully. So now we've got it lined up again, and I think I know what the cause is. If the power goes off when you're copying any sort of footage, or when the system's on, I think it causes some corrupt data, and it causes the recordings to do it. So I've noticed it's whenever the power's gone, we've had like a power cut or anything like that, it tends to do it after that, and then once it's obviously rebuilt the database, it disappears. So I rebuilt that this morning and it instantly fixed the issue. So hopefully we've got that sorted now for any few drop loads as well. So for this video, obviously I'm just keeping it all with the 2 cameras at the top and the main onboard action. As you can see there, going over the line, start of P2, lap 2. We're still in P3, we've got P4 behind us. You can see I've got the view from the car in front of me looking back at myself driving. I do love that camera angle. We've got the TV replay camera in that top right hand corner showing the action and how close it was. I do love driving this car here. I still prefer driving the Lexus. I do like the way the Lexus drives a lot more, but I haven't driven this here, so I wanted to try it out. Obviously we did the track guide, which we just released earlier today for this track, 1:48.8. I can get a lot faster than that, which I hopefully will do later on if I get a chance to get back on. I'm going to try and get myself in the top 10 stars, and then try and get some more racing done here. And I might try and get the Brazil race done as well, because I'm not sure if there's a Brazil, if it's in the FIA racing, the GR3, or if it's GR4, but I want to practice that track anyway because it's quite a weak track for me. So anyway, you can see there, trying to stay as close as possible to the guy in front. It really was a tough race this. We've got 3 very fast drivers here. The guy in the lead is a very, very fast GR2 driver. I think he's in the top 10 stars now. And the guy in front of me was on a 48.6, so he's also a very fast driver. And then behind me, you can see the pace was they were staying with us at this early stage, but they were losing a little bit every lap. But top 3 were remaining fairly close at this stage. The leader was slightly pulling away from P2, but I think myself and P2 were doing a lot more fuel saving than the leader was. I think he was going for that aggressive, all-out, trying to get the really fast laps in, which I do like doing that style. It suits my driving style, and I tend to get in a rhythm with it, and that's why a lot of people tend to do it, the faster drivers, because you do get in a rhythm. If you're in that lead from the start, you can generally if you do drive aggressive, you can normally build up a lead that's more than what you could save in terms of time and pit stop. So that's why he's going really aggressive, and that's how I would have probably have done it if I was in the lead. But at this stage, myself and P2 are just saving fuel a bit. You can see I'm short shifting every now and then. Sometimes I'm revving it quite high, but other times I'm trying to get into that like gear a little bit earlier. I don't want to rev it too hard and waste my fuel, and that's how I wanted to race this race. I wanted to test what it'd be like without doing any fuel saving, just do it all by gear changing, which I have noticed. I've been watching some of the really fast drivers. There are a lot of really fast drivers, and that's how they tend to do it. They tend to do a lot of their fuel saving more with the gears than they do with the fuel mixture. So I just wanted to try it out. It does work. I still think that you can get better results if you do a mixture every now and then, but for like the Nürburgring track, it was 100% just using that one mixture. I tried doing it with the obviously using fuel mixture 2 and 3 and 4, and I didn't really get any benefits over that to just using one mixture and short shifting. Maybe if you short shift in fuel mixture 2, then that's going to obviously save you even more fuel, so that's where you could probably do it. Go through the corners obviously in the first sector. Maybe I could have used fuel mixture 2 and short shifted my way through the first sector with obviously the twists and turns, and then obviously just gone into one mixture for the straights and short shifted on the straights in one mixture. But you can see we're holding on to this guy in front. We're driving reasonably well. It's my first race obviously, and I was quite happy with how I was driving this. We were consistent. Our lap times are okay. They're not amazing at 50.4. It's not an unbelievable fast lap time, but it's consistent, and that's what it's all about, is keeping consistency. Like the guy in front of me, you can see he wasn't pushing 100% as well, and I could tell that, and that's why I know that he was saving a bit of fuel, because he wasn't really pushing the limits of the track. He was making sure his car was nice and stable and keeping the consistency, and that's what you really want to do at Suzuka, is it can catch you out at any moment really. As you can see there, we're starting lap 4, and the leader's slowly edging away, but he's not flying away. It's annoying that I can't show you the lap deltas, because I think I was just about in the second gap behind the guy in front of me, because I was trying to make sure I stayed in the slipstream. So when you see me revving the car a bit more, that's when I'm just trying to make sure I get back in the slipstream, so that I'm using that slipstream to help me down the straight. But the leader's probably got, I think he was at just under 2 seconds ahead of the P2 there. It was about 1.5 seconds, I think it was, the gap. As you can see there, we caught up through this section, and whether he was starting to do a bit of fuel saving is maybe he started to realise that what we were doing with the fuel saving, so maybe he started to back off a bit. I didn't see him make any particular error there. As you can see, I got so close to P2 there. The slipstream caught me out, and I braked where I normally would, not taking into account the slipstream, and it nearly caught me out. So you could see I didn't turn into the corner. What I did was I just braked in a straight line. That's when you get your most braking effect, and I didn't want to turn, so to avoid making sure I don't hit him. So I braked straight and then took a wide entry into the corner, and then that enables me then to get on the power reasonably well and not lose too much time to him. So you can see we didn't really lose any time by that, maybe a tenth or so, but nothing major. So that's one tip I would give. If you ever find yourself in a braking situation like that where you think you might hit the guy in front, just keep your wheels straight, and then try and make sure you can go around the outside of him in the braking zone, and then give yourself a wide entry into the corner, and then you can, generally you can widen that angle and get a nice exit from the corner. So that's what I did there, and it helped me out, so I didn't lose too much time. As you can see there, I had quite a big moment on the power getting on to the straight there. It is quite common that on Suzuka in this car if you're a bit too aggressive, and that's why I generally, like in the video on the track guide that I released earlier today, we talked about that. As you can see there, P1 has had a massive moment. He's gone into turn 1 far too fast. He's clipped that rear tyre on the curb, and he's lost control of his car, so that aggressive driving has really caught him out there. A really easy mistake to make though, going into turn 1. You only have to run a little bit too wide on that rear tyre on the curb, and Suzuka will bite. I've talked about the curbs at Suzuka in previous videos. They are really aggressive. That's why you have to give them respect, and it's sometimes best just to keep your race pace at around 95% and keep the consistency. As now we're in a really good position here now in P2, just behind P1, and thankfully we're looking like we're going to get a good result here. Unfortunate that P1 did that mistake, as he was driving really well, but again I get so close to the rear of that car in front of me, and this time I felt like I was able to brake in time to make that corner, so I just carried on the normal line there. As you can see, I could see he was actually a bit further ahead than he was getting on the power, so that's why I stayed tight at that time. But again, we're getting really close in the braking zone. He was really seemed really weak on that corner in terms of braking, so if I could get close enough to him, I thought that's where I might be able to make it an opportunity to maybe make a move on that corner. But you have to be really close going into the braking zone there, because it's a very risky overtake. So you can see now going through the really fast left hand corner, obviously no lifting through this corner, flat out all the way through this corner and into the braking zone. A tricky braking zone to get your correct spot there to brake. We're going to pit on this lap obviously halfway through the race. It's best to pit dead on halfway. As you can see, we're both going in the pits, and let's have a little look. See he saved 13% fuel and we were on 11% fuel, so he's actually said 14% there now. So he had saved 2-3% more than myself, which wasn't that much. It was just enough. Obviously he was probably doing a little bit of fuel saving through the twisty section of the first sector. We were just doing the short shifting. So the short shifting is definitely an effective method. You can see a lot of other people only 2%, 3% fuel. So the short shifting is definitely a good way of doing it, because you maintain good speed, but you can see that little bit of an advantage that fuel has given. And also I put a little bit extra in just to give myself a chance to run a bit more aggressive now, because I knew I'd be behind him, but I wanted to give myself a little bit more fuel to try and see if we could make some impression on him and see how close we could get. But we've got a little bit of catching up to do now. We fell back about, we look like we're about 2 seconds behind him. I think it was about 1.8, 1.9 seconds behind him, but I really need to now get on with this and try and put some more aggressive laps in. As you can see straight away I'm revving the car a lot more now. I'm still going to do a bit of fuel management, but not anything as much as what I did in the first stint, as I knew I came out the pits with 5.3 laps of fuel left, so I knew I had that 0.3 to work with in terms of my fuel, as I'd been doing the short shifting, but I've been using the one mixture, so I knew I could just go fairly aggressive now pretty much to the end. So you can see we're closing in on him straight away. We've managed to gain a little bit by the looks of it on this outlap, and that was really the key. I wanted to go aggressive on the outlap to get as close as possible, so we could try and see if a move was possible, you know, by the end of the race. But it was going to be so hard. This guy in front of me is a very fast driver in this car. He was driving pretty much perfect. I didn't see him make a single mistake. When you're watching him, he doesn't seem to make any errors, and that's what you want. You know, this is why I love GT Sport. You know, I've gone on this game, I think it was 11 in the morning, something like that, this morning when I did this race. It was my first race, and we're qualifying P3 even though our lap time is 48.8. And then we get races like this where we're identical. You know, our lap times are pretty much exactly the same. We're continuing to drive around and not making much of an impression. We're just trying to push ourselves to get closer and closer. You know, you go on any other racing game on a public lobby at this time of the day and find me racing where it's like this every time. You know, every race you join, you will find someone who will push you, and this is why I do love GT Sport. I know I've complained about the penalty system, but you know, that's nothing, we can't change that at the moment. But still, if you go on Project Cars, for example, if you went onto a public lobby, you probably win by 30 seconds if you were reasonably good at the game. You know, I've gone on that in the past, and you just dominate it, because in general, you know, there are a lot of fast people on the game, but they just don't do the public lobbies. They tend to do private leagues. That's all well and good, but you know, it's at set times. You know, I just want to be able to go on a game like iRacing does. There's a time slot there, you join it, you don't know who you're racing against, and you have good racing. And that's what this is why a lot of people are addicted to GT Sport and its racing, and it's why it's more popular than Project Cars in terms of its online activity. You know, if you go onto the PS4 leaderboards on GT Sport, you will see a lot of the big names on the leaderboards pretty much every day, and especially now the FIA races are on there, and it's just getting more and more popular. You can see how competitive it's getting in these FIA races. You know, the leaderboards, I think I was like 6/10 off of the top time in the practice session for an FIA race, and I wasn't even anywhere near the top 20. If you go, I've got an app that you can like see the top 100, and I was nowhere near the top 20. So it just shows you how competitive this game is getting, and I really like that for this. You know, you've got to keep pushing yourself like we are in this race. I am trying my hardest to drive within the limits so that I don't make a mistake, but fast enough to try and gain on me. As you can see, we are gaining, we're getting closer and closer as we're able to use that little bit more fuel. He obviously did the fuel that was allowance from the, you know, from his first 5 laps of driving, so it takes into consideration what he needs in the next 5, and he's probably gone dead on the diamond, whereas I went that little bit over just to try and see if we can gain a fraction of the time on him in the pits. Sorry, on the last few laps. You know, every lap, if we gain 2/10, we're going to get really close by the end of the race. As you can see there, we're probably about 1.2, 1.1 seconds, but don't think we're in the slipstream at this stage, but we're getting very, very close to getting in that slipstream. You know, you can see it in that top left-hand camera at the top of the screen. Looking back at myself, you can start seeing the car getting bigger and bigger and bigger as the laps go on. And you know, we came out the pits over 2 seconds behind, and we're now definitely just over 1 second behind. But you know, again, like I say, it's these fractions of a difference every lap. This is why I love GT Sport. You know, pushing yourself to gain that 2/10 every lap. And this is why one thing I really do wish would come to GT Sport is longer races and you know, a bit more endurance racing. You know, 10 laps is great, but in terms of like proper like racing, it's basically a sprint race. I think a lot of people on GT Sport now want to be doing like 30 lap races, maybe more, with real fuel usage and real tyre usage, and maybe make a compulsory stop. Like I'd love it if they added an option so that you have to pit and change tyres. You've got to do a change of tyres, and make it like that so that we can run realistic fuel usage and tyre wear, but just make us force us into a pit stop. Maybe that's something they can add in the future for like the FIA races. If they, I mean, maybe they're going to go a little bit more like that in some of the races they do. I still don't know how they're going to run these FIA races. I'm guessing they're going to keep it on the way they're doing it now with the exaggerated fuel and tyre wear. But I don't know how often they're going to be, because they changed the pre-season way. Once, twice, after 2 of them every week. I wish they would also change them so that they're on alternative days. I don't know what everyone else's opinion is on this. Leave it in the comments if you think this is right. I personally think they should split the Tuesdays. I think is it the Tuesday or Wednesday race, whatever it is. Have them on alternative days for the nations and the manufacturer, because I don't have time to do the nations at the moment, because I can't do 2 slots in one night and practice for them. And then on the one that's on the Saturday, have one on a Saturday and one on a Sunday. I just think it would make it a lot better, and it would give people time to practice for these races a bit more. They'd probably make the races a little bit more competitive as well, I think, because you'd have a lot more people in each of them, as more people will have time to practice. But whether they'll do that, I don't know, but that's just an idea I think they should do. As you can see now, we're coming to the midway point on lap 9. We've got a lap and a half to go, and we're definitely in that slipstream, just about clipping onto that slipstream. As you can see, I'm trying not to break too deep into that corner, so I want to try and give myself good exit from this corner so I can stay in his slipstream all the way down the back straight. He seems to get really good pull out of some of these corners. I don't know whether he was using counter steer assist. It's possible, as the majority of people that are on this track in the GR2 cars will use counter steer assist. I don't use it, I don't like it, but it does help you get on the power very early out of corners like this. You'll notice he gets really good exits from that corner. This time we got quite a nice exit though, and we've managed to stay just about onto his slipstream. But at this point now, coming up to lap 10, I did notice that I was going to start needing to do a slight amount of fuel savings. You'll see me going short shifting every now and then, and also what I had to do was run fuel mixture 2 through the first section. So going through the first section, you're going to see now the car's probably not going to just as fast as it was before. It's only a fraction of the difference, obviously, using fuel mixture 2, but I needed to do it while I was in this slipstream now. Just run that fuel mixture 2 just through this first sector, and then I was just going straight back to fuel mixture 1 to go short shifting. So you'll see it now. Trying to hold on to him. We took a really nice line through that corner. He made a little bit of an error, and we've got even closer going on this final lap now. So the strategy looks like it's getting, it's paying off in a way that I put that extra bit of fuel in. We're really close, and the racing's great. I enjoy races like this where you're pushing your limits and trying to get as close as you can to the car in front, without making an error, and just keeping the consistency. If you look at the lap times, a 50.2, a 50.1 and a 50.3 in this car at this track, that's quite, to keep consistency is not easy. So I was really happy with that. I think if we carried on doing more races of this, maybe if we do them later, I think we'll be in the 49s and be able to be consistent at getting them 49s. But for now, I was really happy with my first race being able to drive it like this. As you can see on the exit there, he got a little bit of oversteer, but still he gets a really good pull out of that corner. I was quite surprised that he didn't bog down a bit there and get a weak exit. He still got a really good exit. It was really strange. I can't explain that. His car went sideways, but he just carried on accelerating. So going into this corner now, I needed to get a really strong exit. You can see me trying to squeeze the throttle in as much as I dared, and we got quite a nice exit in his slipstream now. I'm having to do a little bit of short shifting, but at this point I think now I'd realised I can pretty much go aggressive to the line now and just see if we can get there. Going into this final corner, I'm going to brake as late as I dare and just try and get as close as possible, just in case he runs out of fuel. I actually braked a little bit too late there, but we've not made that much of an error. We maybe lost a temp or so as he got a little bit loose on the power there, where he's trying to make sure he gets over the line, and we both go over the line and we both don't run out of fuel. So I just wanted to push that end bit there, a really close end. We ended the race half a second away from him, so 10 laps at Suzuka and half a second difference. That is what you call great racing, and I enjoy racing in races like this where you're pushing yourself to the limits race every lap, and really great fun. And hopefully we can have some more races like this tonight. If I do get a good race, I will upload it at a later date. Obviously I don't want to upload 2 races in the same car and track very close together, so hopefully if we get a good race later we can upload that at a later date. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed that race. I know I enjoyed racing in that, and we'll be back with more videos very soon. Make sure you check out the track guide for this track that I uploaded earlier today if you want some pointers on track lines and braking points, etc. And make sure you sub to the channel if you haven't already subbed. Click that notification button so you don't miss any future videos. We'll be back with more GT Sport Daily and the Set Course and Project Cars videos in the future. Thanks again for watching, everyone.